Hello, welcome back to the channel. We're doing something a little bit different today. I want to take a look at Art Mage deck lists that have topped regional or national events since Blazing Dominion dropped. Now, what's interesting about some of these lists is that they are post Blazing Dominion, but they are pre-ban list. So what that means, if we look at the Greek nationals as an example here, top 4, 255 players, that means this was a deck that competed against full power Draco Tail, full power Kewl Tune, and still managed to get top 4 playing Power Patron Artmage. So as of Monday this week, I think it was Monday, this deck got indirectly buffed. This deck is even better than it was, right? Because if it was able to do this in a 250 person event pre-ban list, we have to imagine it can most certainly do it again now that Draco Tail has been basically taken out back. Kewl Tune, more of a slap on the wrist. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that these people were able to make Power Patron work in larger scale events, and they did so pre-ban list. So let's take a look and see if there's anything we can learn, basically anything we can take from this. I myself am preparing for nationals. I am 99% going to be playing Power Patron Artmage. 1% is Doomsy, right? That's the dark Kermit telling me to play Doomsy rather than Power Patron, but we'll see anyway. So let's have a look and see if there's anything interesting here, basically. So I want to start with a deck list which is actually pre-Blazing Dominion, but there is a reason for that, right? I watched some of this gameplay live, so it was at Rocklindic in the Austrian National Championship. 370 people in that event, and he finished top 8 with branded Artmage pre-ban list, right? So this was full power Artmage. It was pre-Blazing Dominion as well, right? That is important. But he still managed to top 8 with branded Artmage, not K9 Artmage, branded Artmage. And I watched some of his gameplay on stream. I was watching the Austrian event live, and one of the cool moments was using the light Hexield fusion as a replacement for Dark Magician to hard make a Dragoon, and branded Artmage was actually on my list for post Blazing Dominion, just because we can run one copy of Aluba, one copy of branded Fusion, and of course in this particular deck Aluba is a very searchable card because it's a Dark Fairy, and obviously with the patron support we can get to Aluba, normal summon Aluba for branded Fusion. We still get to normal summon Medius additionally, because of course the Artmage field spell will give us an additional normal summon for Medius. I don't want to take too long on this one because it is pre-Blazing Dominion and that's not what we're here for. But I do think, where is he? Rocklindic? I think he was onto something, right? He played the deck really well. There's gameplay available on YouTube if you want to take a look. So 1 Graflair, 3 Finmel. I actually found this really interesting because 3 Finmel is something that I hadn't really been looking at, but I'm seeing much more popular post Blazing Dominion, because you can obviously trade it for the non-finito, or tribute it for the non-finito. You can do that here as well, of course, but non-finito isn't as important for me pre-Blazing Dominion because we don't have the counter trap, whereas once the counter trap is available, non-finito goes from being an okay card to just absolutely amazing, right? Because that's how we beat Drawl, it's how we beat Nib, it's a counter trap. Obviously spell speed 3 being the best form, one of the best forms of disruption in the game, other than cards that can't be responded to. And so yeah, fair play, honestly. Fair play to this chap. Everybody else was playing K9 Artmage pre-Blazing Dominion, and this guy went and top 8'd a fairly big event with branded Artmage. I am 99% sure there's supposed to be a branded Fusion in here. Unless I'm misremembering, I'm fairly sure he used branded Fusion to dump the light Hexield fusion plus Fallen of Albaz to make the Albion effect on summon, banishing Dark Magician, right? Plus Fallen of Albaz, to hard make the Dragoon. He definitely hard made the Dragoon using the light Hexield fusion. Anyway, yeah, really cool deck list, really cool idea. I think there's probably something in here for post Blazing Dominion as well. But yeah, well done. Well done, this guy, basically. Played out of his mind. Gameplay available on YouTube, obviously, if anybody wants to go and take a look. What I would note quickly, and this is something you'll see in some of the other lists, sphere mode seems to be quite popular. Now, some people prefer lava golem as a general rule of thumb, but what you have to note is that sphere mode basically uses your normal summon, so requires 3 tributes from either side of the field to normal summon to that side of the field, whereas lava golem only requires 2 monsters, so it's kind of easier to pull off. But with lava golem you are locked out of normal summoning, whereas with sphere mode it uses your normal summon, but like we've just mentioned, we can use the field spell to still get a normal summon of Medius regardless. So as a board breaker for going second, terrible into Kewl Tune obviously, but going into decks like Doom Z, this is crippling. This is genuinely so good into Doom Z, because their end board might be the Dresteia, who's yet to level up, Varudras, and a copy of Regulus, and you just take out all 3, and that's basically all of their interaction gone, all of the kind of key points of interaction gone with 1 card. And then as long as you get to the field spell, you're normal summoning Medius, and if you've seen my earlier video you will know Medius resolving is basically it's an FTK in all but name. So yeah, cool deck list, well done. Let's move on to the Blazing Dominion stuff though. So this next list is by Draco Tail, who played Power Patron Artmage to reach top 8 at a Omaha regional. This had 80 players, give or take, so not a massive regional, but hitting top 8 is still hitting top 8, so well done to Draco Tail. Let's take a look at the list. So 2 Medius, I prefer 3, personal preference I think really, but I do like the fact that 1 Medius, normal summoned, just basically beats everything. And you get to go full combo and effectively FTK them. 1 Graflair, that's interesting, but then it's 3 Finmel. Now Finmel as a 3 of, I think makes more sense now that non-finito is much higher value than it was. 1 Latera, pretty standard, very rarely see more than 1 Latera in a list. Only 1 Owl though, not sure on this one. I prefer 2, but yeah, personal preference I guess. Gets a bit awkward in certain situations with just the 1. 3 Nevado. I'm probably looking at 2 Nevado because there's only 1 Vidolium, and it gets a bit awkward in certain situations where you've only got the 1 Vidolium. So I think the Power Patron lineup as a whole is fine, because you definitely want one of the others. If you've seen my combo videos you'll understand why. If you haven't, go and check them out, appreciate you. So I'm maybe thinking 2 Nevado, 1 Ginaldo, 1 Geprado, and then 2 Vidolium. But you know, I'm not mad at this. It makes sense. It works. 2 Shade, controversial in my mind. I'm probably just looking at this as a one-off, but it is still a starter. At the end of the day, it's normal summon, starter, full combo. So can't be mad at it. Fuwalos in the main. I think this made sense for the event. It was a regional, and you expect to see more rogue. But this doesn't do loads into the best decks of the new format, post-ban list. Ash is there just in case you win the dice roll or you want to stop the Charmies. Fuwalos versus this deck doesn't really do anything, to be honest, if you know how to play it. Pirellia, on the other hand, is absolutely terrifying. So Ash is basically here to stop Pirellia, right? 2-Droll, I think we're going to start seeing 2-Droll in the main deck a lot now, if I'm being honest, because 1 Ash, if you go in second, does nothing, right? It does absolutely nothing. You're just hand looping yourself, playing into talents for no reason, and they still go full combo anyway, 90% of the time, because that's how modern Yu-Gi-Oh works. Whereas Droll and Lockbird, even if it's a deck that can play around Droll, you are still impacting their end board. So it's not necessarily, unless of course they've started with normal summon Medius, if you know, you know, but a lot of decks, if they hit with Droll, yes, they're still putting up interactions, but they are putting up less. Whereas if you hit somebody with Ash, they put up the same amount of interactions as they did, and potentially hand loop you with talents. 1 field spell, yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I think if this ever gets destroyed, it kind of ruins your grind game. 1 alteration, I think I'm coming round to this, to be honest. I'm seeing a lot of lists playing just the 1 alteration. I'm not mad at it, I'll be honest. I think if we're trying to keep the deck count down, 1 alteration does make sense. 2 assault. Yeah, I think if you're in a higher, a higher deck count, 3 assault, 3 medius makes sense. But obviously we're trying to keep things down, so 2 assault makes sense. The Power Patron spell lineup, I think this is pretty standard at this point. 1 Vidolia, 3 Terminus, 3 Pendulum Treasure, which I'm a very big fan of. I'm loving this card. I think 3 Pendulum Treasure is absolutely correct and will probably make my final deck list. And then for the rest, we've got 6 Breakers, because realistically, you can't play this as a true hand trap deck, because if you want to hand trap somebody out of the game, you need to be opening 2-3 hand traps realistically, and this deck just can't run that many hand traps. I have seen lists where they're running imperm for that reason, because obviously the reason we can't play too many hand traps is because we do need discard fodder, both for the field spell and of course for non-finito, and it fits both, doesn't it, if we play imperm. But we've got 3 droplet, 3 super poly, I think 1 owl when we're on droplet and super poly makes the 1 owl even more offensive to me, if I can say that, purely because if we're discarding the owl off of the droplet, off of the super poly, we're getting value for it, of course, aren't we? Whereas I'm not really seeing cards in here that can get value from the discards. And obviously as a deck, Art Mage is already asking you to discard things, right? The non-finito, the field spell, it's already asking you to discard in order to play. Let's have a look at the extra deck. So 1 non-finito. I'm a 2 non-finito kind of guy personally. 1 Deactorus, 1 Nerva. We've got a Spolly target, obviously Sea Monster of Theseus. Hopefully you managed to get one before it's spiked. Rest in peace if not. Drago Tail. I'm seeing this in a lot of Art Mage lists because obviously we can hard make it during their turn using non-finito and a dark. It's just an additional monster negate, right? Good card. Garura and Mud Dragon, they're our Spolly targets. Makes sense. Cross Sheep and Little Knight, yeah, not too much to say there. Charmer and Celine. I've seen people on these and I'm not convinced myself, but I understand why they're in there as combo pieces. They're not by any means bad cards, it's just the extra deck's already a bit tight, especially if you're running super poly. So these, yeah, it's difficult for me to find the room for these, but as combo pieces and extension pieces, completely understand why they're there. Beyond the Pendulum, if you see my combo videos, makes complete sense. Fantastic card in Art Mage, Power Patron Artmage. Verudrus, no brainer. 2 level 10s make Verudrus. Now Jupiter's interesting because this only makes sense to me if he's wanting to try and make a big fat Vidolium with the 10k attack under the protection of a Verudrus, while still having an XIZ to banish to bring out the Vidolium. If you're not running Jupiter, you can't summon the Vidolium without having to banish the Verudrus. So my guess is that this is here so that we can make Verudrus, and under the protection of the Verudrus, make the big fat 10k Vidolium, banishing the Jupiter, and try and swing for game with a 10k beat stick that's unaffected by monsters. That's what makes sense in my head. In the highly unlikely event that you see this, Dakota, let me know in the comments. 2 Ghost Ogre. That's Doomsday hate, isn't it, realistically? Called by, yeah, makes sense. Harpies on Lightning Storm, yeah, quite standard. Book of Eclipse is an interesting one, because I actually think this could be a fantastic card in the main deck, because it's good going second and going first, because obviously normal summon Medius, they react with Imperm, they react with Veiler. Chain, Book of Eclipse, Medius still resolves, summons the Owl can still fuse even though Medius is face down, make the Deactorus, get the search from the Owl, and in this instance Book of Eclipse was basically a Called by the Grave, except it was a Called by the Grave that works on Imperm. So yeah, I think this is actually a pretty interesting tech card for this new format, because it's also good going second into Kewl Tune, of course, which is I think why this is here. But I am wondering, is there a world where Book of Eclipse could be in the main ahead of Droplet, just because we can still fuse even though things are face down? I don't know, something to think about. Talent, not much to say there. Anti-spell, I so desperately wish this card was banned, but it's not, so you may as well try and scam wins while it's available. Just completely FTKs the Sky Striker and Mitsu type decks that you're going to run into, and you will run into those, by the way. Very popular at the minute. Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, you know, good cards for going first. And yeah, I think all in all, you know, solid deck list. Some of these ratios, yeah, probably not how wide I've done it, but I think all in all there's nothing offensive here, right? And he managed to top 8 a regional with it, so yeah, fair play. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so for our next list we have Konstantinos Fotikas. Sorry if I've butchered that, but he did a top 4 finish at the Greek Nationals, and this was a 255 person event. So yeah, reaching top 4, 250 people, absolutely, yeah, that is a fair play, especially when we remember this was going into pre-ban list Kewl Tune, pre-ban list Draco Tail. Let's take a look at the list. So 45 cards main, which, yeah, I think I was considering a 60 card list at one point, and it is nice and you can kind of gas through things, but the issue is that you don't get to see your side deck, and I think in this format you really want to see your side deck. So 45, obviously you get to drown out a couple of the bricks that you don't really want to draw. I think they're more bricks, more garnets than bricks. I don't know if the deck necessarily has hard bricks, but it just means you can still see your side deck. So yeah, 45 makes sense. 2 Finmel, 2 Gruffalair. I like this a lot, I won't lie. I think this is a really nice ratio because Gruffalair is still a really good starter, but then equally Finmel has increased in value, and I think 2 of each is a very nice ratio. 1 Latera, quite standard. 2 Owl, I love it. Only 2 Medius, I'm not mad at it. I just like 3 because I really want to hard draw it. I want to hard draw Medius, but I get it. You know, I'm not too upset at only 2 Medius. Now the Power Patron lineup I like a lot. 2 Nevado, 1 Ginaldo, 1 Geprado, 2 Vidolium. This to me is, I think this is perfect. 3 feels a bit cloggy sometimes, but you don't just want to have 1 of these, right? You definitely want at least 2. But then I think what we've done here is we've basically sacrificed an additional copy of Nevado for a Vidolium, and yeah, I like this a lot. I like these ratios a lot. 1 Shade the Obscure, yeah, I think he's correct. I don't really want to be running 2 of these. I think 1 is fine. Ash in the main, again, this is here to stop Charmies rather than to try and stop them play, because 1 Ash is doing nothing in this format if you go in second, unless it's paired, of course, with 1 or 2 other hand traps. Ghost Spell, I wonder if this still makes the main deck once we've basically got through the ban list and Draco Tail isn't a thing anymore. 2 Draw in the main, I think is probably correct. I think 2 Draw in the main is going to be a thing in this new format. So yeah, be ready for that. 1 Alteration, I'm coming round to it, to be honest. I'm coming round. 2 Field Spell, yeah, I love it. Definitely better than just the 1. 2 of the Assault, and you notice in here there's a lot of 2-ofs, with the idea being we don't want to draw multiples of hard 1-offs, but we do still want to have more than 1 because we want to see the card. So I think these ratios are very nice, to be honest. We've got 3 of the Terminus, but you notice we don't have a copy of the Field Spell, which is interesting actually. I feel like 1 copy of the Field Spell is a really valuable extension tool, but you know he's opted not to play it, which is interesting. 3 Pendulum Treasure, fantastic card. 2 Crown in the main, very interesting. I think because of Kewl Tune we're seeing a bit of a comeback for Crown, and Crown kind of came and went on release without any real fanfare, massively hyped and then just didn't see play, whereas now we're starting to see Crown come into the meta because of Kewl Tune. 3 Super Poly, fantastic breaker in this current format. Main deck Called By, I actually quite like, because worst case scenario we just pitch it anyway. If we go second and don't need it, you can just pitch it, but even going second it still has value as a breaker into a lot of decks. Obviously it's good against Mitsu, it's good against Sky Striker, it's good against everything, let's face it. It's Called By, it's one of the best cards in the game and will ultimately be banned one day, more than likely. 1 copy of the Trap, the Awakening, which of course you never really want to use. You want to use it in Grave. One copy of the Recapture, and 3 Imperm, which is quite interesting. Like we mentioned earlier, it's a hand trap / combo piece if you've got to the field spell. So I think 3 Imperm, quite interested in this deck list. Moving into the extra deck, we have 1 Varudras, 1 of the Janora, 1 of the Nerva, 2 Non-Finito, absolutely, I love this, and 1 Deactorus. Now Secretarion is in here as a super poly target, not just into Draco Tail, but actually branded as well. So this is yeah, definitely an interesting tech choice. Starving Venom Dragon. Now this is here instead of the Garura, and I actually think this might be a better choice than Garura for this format. In fact, no, I don't think. Yeah, I've just convinced myself. I think this is by far a better choice than Garura as an extra deck target for this next format. Dragos Tapelia, we can make it. Ilia Sylvia, I love this because you can use Non-Finito plus Latera to make the Ilia Sylvia, and if you've got to the main phase without having to make the Ilia Sylvia or being forced into making the Ilia Sylvia, we can go Chainlink 1, Latera, to bring something back from the graveyard. Chainlink 2, Non-Finito, so Chainlink 2 resolves first, makes the Ilia Sylvia, Chainlink 1, Latera, to still get the graveyard revive, which is the most optimal way of playing this out, and yeah, beautiful when you manage to pull it off in a game. This is a super poly target, not loads to say. Super poly target, yeah. No Celine, but running the Charmer Quartet, which, yeah, really interesting combo piece, really interesting extension piece. For people who don't know, the way this normally turns out is you use it to bring back 2 different Power Patrons, Power Patrons, and one after the other, send them to the extra deck face up to special summon the Janora and the Nerva. So if you get to this point, it's basically 2 separate attempted board wipes. I've also seen people do it to bring back monsters that you can then fuse on their turn. Yeah, interesting tech card. Not sure I'm in love with it yet myself, but I have been doing some testing with it. I can completely see why it's in there. Beyond the Pendulum, no brainer. SP, not much to say there. Side deck, we have Sphere Mode. I'm telling you, this is a tech choice and a half for this format if we're playing Art Mage, because we can still normal summon, right? It's not like Lava Golem, so this completely obliterates Doomsday, FYI. We can still normal summon after doing this, and yeah, I just think this is a fantastic tech choice for going second in the current format. Magnamot, I like a lot, actually, because we can use that to search for a Graflare, because for some reason, this is a dragon, right? The least dragon-looking dragon in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know, you tell me, but he's a dragon apparently. So we can summon, search for the Graflare, which is nice. 3 Fuwa in the side. I actually like this because Fuwa isn't great into every matchup at the minute. Dark Ruler, fantastic tech choice at the minute. I'm liking Dark Ruler a lot as a side deck option. Continuing the theme of running 2-ofs, which, yeah, I'm a big fan of. What's interesting about this as well, people look at Dark Ruler and they say, oh, it's no good, because if you use Dark Ruler into Kewl Tune, they can activate Kewl Tune Synchro, use Zalen to negate the Dark Ruler, and then they'll say, oh, see, it beat Dark Ruler. What they're missing here, though, is through 1 card, you've just forced out 2 of their best interactions. So I don't think that's a waste. You've made them use Zalen, you've made them use Kewl Tune Synchro, and I would probably take that, to be honest. I think Dark Ruler is a fantastic card going into this new format. 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, quite standard as board breaking options. Talent, not much to say there. Judgment and Accusation, yeah, I think I like this a lot, to be honest. Fantastic achievement, you know, top 4 pre-ban list in a 250 person national. I like this deck list a lot. I really do like it a lot. Let's move on to the next one. Last and most certainly not least, we've got Cody Bartz. Top 4 to the Milwaukee Regional, 155 players, not too shabby at all. Let's take a look at the deck list. We've got 1 Graflare and 2 Finmel. I think my preferred ratio going forward is probably going to be 2 Graflare, 2 Finmel, but I'm not mad at this. 1 Latera, only 2 Medius. I don't know if I'm just I don't know, the delusional president of the media's fan club. But I like 3 just because I really want to hard open this guy. As a normal summon, it's an FTK in all but name. Droll's making a comeback, and this beats Droll without having to worry about setting yourself back in terms of card economy. I think I'm not mad at 2. I'm just a big fan of the card, right? I'll get over it. 2 Owl, I think 2 Owl is perfect. 1 Shade, I like to see it. I don't think it's a 2 of. 1 Vidolium, 1 of the Japredo, 1 of the Ginaldo. These names, man, they're going to finish me off. 3 of the Nevado. Yeah, not mad at this either. I think my preferred ratio is probably going to be 2 of the Vidolium, 2 of the Nevado. But yeah, this makes sense. I like it. 3 Fuwa in the main. Now, at a premier event, if we're talking like YCS, I can see a world where people aren't maining Fuwalos. If they're expecting to exclusively be playing against the top meta decks and top players, I see a world where Fuwalos isn't even in the main. It does absolutely murder rogue decks though, let's face it. So I get why this is in here. No Ashe, which I think is correct. I think Ashe in the main is just absolutely bait this format. If you're playing Art Mage can't afford to run 16, 17, 18 hand traps. And if you draw Ashe on its own, it's doing absolutely nothing. Whereas if you draw Droll on its own, they might still be putting up a board of some kind, but it's stopping them going full combo. Whereas with Ashe, you drop the Ashe, and then they're like, okay, yeah, and then they just extend past it like nothing happened, and make the exact same board that they were going to make anyway. Because that's just how it tends to work these days, if you've only got the 1 hand trap, unless they bricked horribly. But if your whole game plan is to, I hope my opponents brick, then that's just not really going to work at a large scale event, is it? 2 field spell, yeah, makes sense. I think 1 is incorrect, absolutely. 2 is good, makes sense. Only 1 assault, but we're trying to keep the deck count down, so I get it. 1 alteration, same kind of idea. 3 of the Terminus, but no field spell again, which is interesting. 3 Pendulum Treasure, fantastic card. 3 Crown in the main, very interesting. It's fantastic going first, but I think it's gaining popularity going second because, of course, of Kewl Tune and etc. You can put this on the Dristea at the beginning of any turn if you're going against Doomsday, and just generally turn off for the turn the most threatening part of an opponent's end board. If you're going first, it's fantastic because, well, I don't really need to explain that at this point. But worst case scenario, if you draw 2, is you can just pitch 1 using the field spell and go full combo. Only 2 Fallen and the Virtuous rather than 3. I actually found very interesting. Could we not just play 3 Fallen and the Virtuous and 2 Crown? I don't know. Was it an element of these crowns cost a fortune, so I'm playing all 3? Not sure. I'm not mad at it. I'm just curious, I guess. 3 Book of Eclipse. Let's try that again in the main. I like this a lot. I like this a lot because going first, we can use it to avoid our cards being negated, and we can still fuse even when they're face down, of course. So this basically becomes an additional copy of Called by the Grave if we're going first. A Called by the Grave that works on Imperm, by the way. But it's also a board breaker going second. I think this is a fantastic card for this format, I really do. Talents in the main, nothing to say there. Great going first, great going second. Called by, yeah, it's going to get banned one day. Fantastic card. 1 of the Awakening, 1 of the Recapture. I'm noticing that the quick play has just completely fallen off. I think that's because the extra decks are so tight now. There's no room for the Guardian Chimera, and that was the main thing the quick play fusion was trying to achieve, really, wasn't it? So I think that's why we've seen the drop off for the fusion quick play. The extra deck's just so tight at this point. Speaking of extra deck, it's not running super poly, so we do have a little bit more room. 2 Non-Finito, I think is correct. 1 Deactaurus, 1 Nerva, Dragos Tapelia, becoming quite popular. And then we've got the little package here, of course, with Fallen and the Virtuous. 1 Genora, makes complete sense. Clockwork Knight, so if you've been playing Doomsday, you will understand exactly why this is in the deck. But it's for certain combo routes where Drapredo is on your field, and you want to send it to the extra deck. Beyond the Pendulum, no brainer. Selene plus the Quartet in Bloom. Obviously, combo pieces. I think Quartet in Bloom makes a bit more sense than the Selene. I'm not sure Selene will stay the course, for want of a better phrase, in terms of the lifespan of the deck. but still a good combo piece nonetheless. SP is SP, not too much to say there. Cross Sheep, again, combo piece, extension. And finally, we have Verudrus, because we can get level 2, level 10s onto the board rather easily. Moving on to the side deck, we've got 3 Perulia in the side, 3 Ash in the side. Yeah, so Ash is in there as it's basically if you go first. Weirdly enough, you're siding in Ash if you go first to beat the Charmies. 3 Ghost Bell in the side is interesting. Not because it didn't make sense at the time, but because I'm wondering, now that Draco Tail has effectively been taken out back, will this get changed? Will this get swapped for 3 Ghost Ogre to beat Doomsday? Right, interesting, don't know. 1 Duster, 2 Lightning Storm, very common, very standard. And then 3 Droplets in the side as well for additional breakers. Yeah, I don't think there's anything here that's too offensive, to be honest. Some of the ratios are probably not the exact ratios I would settle on, but all in all, very solid deck list. Everything makes sense, and yeah, well done to Cody, top 4ing the Milwaukee regional with Power Patron. So it's no secret at this point, big fan of Art Mage in this format. I think this new version of Art Mage is much more fun to play than K9. K9 was good. I just found it so dull though, such a dull archetype in terms of artwork. But obviously K9 made sense because in the previous iteration of Art Mage, admittedly did need some help in order to be playable, never mind good. Whereas now with our Power Patron stuff, I think Power Patron Artmage is actually quite well positioned to surprise some people in the upcoming events. I've certainly enjoyed reviewing these and taking a look at some of the tech choices. It's helped to solidify in my mind certain things I was weighing up. It's helped to solidify in my mind some of the ratios I was looking at. So yeah, definitely worthwhile in terms of my preparation for the upcoming nationals. If you've enjoyed this type of video, if you've enjoyed taking a look at some of these lists and want to see more of this type of content, more deck list reviews for Power Patron Artmage after some of the upcoming nationals, let me know in the comments. If you're not subscribed already, consider subscribing if you've got nothing better to be doing in this particular moment. And yeah, thanks for watching. I guess thanks for stopping by.